Occasionally, I have companies reach out to me asking if they can send me products. One such product I was asked to review and received was this holster and flashlight combo from Warriorland. And I specifically wanted the one that didn't have a laser, but they wanted me to show you guys the one that did have the laser. So I received both, I reviewed both, or I experienced both, and this is my experience. Now you'll notice that this holster has some modifications, and we will come to that in a moment. So I have been testing this one, the MA2 that does not have the laser, on my Glock 30S, which is a 45 ACP subcompact Glock. And then I've been testing the other one, the MA1, on this shotgun, which is a Remington Police 1187. It's a really cool shotgun. I have a video on it separately. I wanted to show you how this flashlight and holster combo came packaged. The packaging is actually pretty nice. So inside there is the holster and the flashlight. The holster has this small baggie that comes with the keys, the rail keys, in order to change out 4 different types of rails, like Picatinny or the Glock rail or that kind of thing. I believe it came installed with the Glock rail. Inside of here, there's also a small manual, a screwdriver for adjusting the tension right here and adjusting these screws, and then the Allen key that is for adjusting the 0 on the laser right there and right there. Now on the MA1, the one equipped with the laser, you can go back and forth between just the flashlight. The middle position is flashlight and laser. And then the position here is just the laser. I've had it on just the flashlight because I don't use the visible laser ever. And then it had this little piece in there to stop it from turning on while it was inside of there. And let's talk about my experience. So first off, some of the features you need to know about this. Number one, it is magnetic charging, which is an advantage and a disadvantage depending on what you're using it for, but it's something that you need to know about before you buy it. And then also, it has this LCD screen. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on camera, but when you first turn it on, it displays the battery life. Then it says how many lumens it's currently at, and then it says the brand Warriorland. Now, that's one of those things that they sent it and they said, make sure you talk about this. And I thought it was pretty gimmicky, and I still do think it is somewhat gimmicky, but it does have some advantages. Namely that if it's a rechargeable flashlight, you need to know where the battery is at. Because if you go out to the range like today and you didn't put batteries in it, and you expected to test the flashlight, the batteries might be dead. And if it's a flashlight like my TLR1 that you can just replace the batteries, as long as you have extra batteries, you're fine. With this one, you need to charge it, and there's no way to remove the battery. The nice thing about that screen is it will tell you how full the battery is, and it will tell you how many lumens it's at. Now, it jumps straight from 800 to 500 when the battery drains a little bit, so it's probably not exactly accurate, but if you charge it again every time it drops to 500, you can keep it at its full charge. It is a feature that, now that I have it, I do think does have some advantages. Now let's also talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the rechargeable battery thing. So this one has a magnetic recharging battery. The advantage to that is that the entire battery, or the entire flashlight rather, can be sealed out from the elements. So I did some testing where I put this in water. Yeah, flashlight's still working fine. So I don't see any damage to the screen. There is a scratch on it, but there's no water under it that I can see. And then shot it, and the flashlight still worked perfectly fine, whereas other flashlights in this price point would have gotten some water inside. But it's able to all be one sealed system because of things like that the battery is all inside and it just recharges from the outside. Now, the con of this being a magnetic charger is that I have never seen this particular charger before. So if I lose my charger, if my charger becomes damaged, something along those lines, the flashlight basically becomes worthless, and I'm not sure if Warriorland would send you a new one in that situation. So it's just something to think about. It's an advantage and a disadvantage. As for brightness, I tested this with my friends, compared to my friend's Streamlight TLR7, and it was, from a full charge, I think just a little bit brighter, and the light is just a little bit whiter instead of a little more yellow. I'm outside today in the sun, but I'll jump to some footage inside in my garage so you can see that. Sadly, okay, so I adjusted the camera to be as close to my eye as I could get it. I'm going to start with the MA2, the one that does not have the laser. Now, these two targets are about 9 or 10 yards from the camera. There is the one on the left and then the one on the right. I put a shirt on so you can see how well you can see a design. Sorry about the mess in my garage. We just moved and we're still tidying up a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the other one, the MA2. These should be identical. I still just have it without the laser on right now. Yeah, they're basically the same. Okay, now I'm going to turn it with the laser on. Actually, at this range, I can see the laser on the one with the design quite a bit better than the camera. For some reason, the laser isn't coming up on the camera very well. I'll put it on the black one, see if you can see it there. Yeah, so I can actually see the laser pretty well inside. I was having a hard time seeing it outside in sunlight, but if you were inside in a home type situation, this would work. Okay, I'm outside with a little bit of ambient light, like street lights and that kind of thing. So you can barely see the silhouette of our target over there, so let's turn the light on it. All right, that's actually performing not too bad. Now, right now we're at 10 yards. Let's step back a little more. I'm gonna turn the laser on too. Okay, so you can still see the target pretty decently over there. Point the laser at the head. You can see the laser pretty well too. Honestly, still performing pretty good at this distance. Now, this light has a lot of spill and not a lot of throw, so it doesn't throw out too far, but you can still see targets pretty well at 25 yards. Let's step back a little further. Okay, now we're at a distance of about 35 yards, and the target is still visible, but barely. Target identification at this distance would be a challenge, but still possible. So if you knew that the target was a threat, you would be able to see, but you wouldn't quite be able to identify the target very easily. All right, let's stop there. Now, I have tested this flashlight, I think, enough. I would like to test it more, but I have tested it a decent bit. I've shot probably 200 rounds of 45 through it, and then plenty of ammo through the flashlight on the shotgun. But let's shoot a little more here for you guys. So Warriorland sent me this crossbow MA1, and they specifically wanted me to showcase the laser feature. Now, I don't personally carry guns with lasers very often, or ever. In fact, this is my first one, and it's just the one that they sent me. So I'm going to test it today. The main thing I want to see is, does it retain zero? That's why I have it on this shotgun. I have a target at 15 yards. I'm going to shoot 2 slugs, and then I'm going to fire 25 shots of birdshot and see if it's still on target. I think it will be, because I zeroed this a long time ago just based on the front bead, and it's still in roughly the same spot. So we're going to do that test, and then I'm going to try just like slapping the optic a little bit and see if it shifts around at all. The sun came out, so I'm stepping up to 10 yards instead of 15. Also, I'm going to aim only with the laser. I'm not going to use the front bead for the first part of this test. So we'll see how this does. There we go. The laser is still on. I'm sorry I stepped off camera for a second. Let's shoot at the black target again. Still in the same spot. All right, I'm just gonna, ooh, that's hot. I'm just gonna slap the light a lot and see if it moves. Now, after slapping it around a little bit, let me see if it still hits in the same spot. Okay, so here were all of my first hits down here. They were all in one solid group, as you can tell. Now, this was all so blown out that for the last one, instead of aiming center mass here, I aimed right here. And it's still basically in that same area. So, as you can tell, it seems like this is retaining zero as much as it needs to. Now, I am only shooting this at 10 yards. The reason for that is because this is a pistol light. So this laser isn't very powerful in the daylight, but I wanted to showcase this feature anyway. I also have this 30-round magazine. Am I printing, bro? So I've been pretty happy with my experience with the flashlight. Now let's talk a little bit about the holster. As you can see, mine is slightly modified. Well, also, this holster is meant for a Glock 19. I have one that's unmodified, tested it with a Glock 19, it works great. You can adjust the retention yourself, so I was able to tighten the retention to fit that Glock and, you know, draw out the right amount. But I've been using this with my Glock 30S, so I had to do a few different things. Number one, I need to give a disclaimer. If you're going to modify a holster, you are taking a lot of risk. Because, you know, holster companies and gun companies, all those kinds of things, I'm sure they have warranties for if you are sitting down or something happens and your gun fires in the holster. However, once you modify a holster, even if the modifications had nothing to do with anything involving the trigger, the company can say, you modified the holster it was in, we're not going to help you. So that is something to think about if you choose to modify holsters. I do not recommend that you modify holsters, but that being said, I did modify this holster. Now, the two adjustments or modifications I would definitely recommend making, because they're ones that are actually meant to be made. Number one is tightening these two things or loosening them. And what people usually say is that you want to be able to shake the gun a little bit without the gun coming out, but you want to be able to remove it with a sharp tug. So I do recommend adjusting that. It's meant to be adjusted. And then also I would replace the foamy style clip with a monoblock or some other type of clip that is more secure. You don't want to have the whole gun and holster come out when you try and draw it, and I don't trust foamy clips. They just get caught on stuff way too easily. Like I said, I made some modifications to mine. Number one, I used a heat gun to make it a little wider so it could fit the Glock 30S. This is in 45, so it's a little bigger than the Glock 19. I also added these two clips right here. Now, recently, they actually made one that is wider and has these style of clips on the outside. I haven't tested it, but if I was to request this item again, that's the one that I would want. And I don't like foamy style clips. Foamy style clips come on a lot of holsters, from really expensive holsters to really cheap holsters. I think that they're a risk. One time I was out with a friend and we were shooting at night. He was wearing a jacket because it was in the winter, and he went to draw his gun from concealment, and his jacket got caught on the foamy clip, and it caused the gun to flip out, and then it was hanging like this from his jacket. After that, I was never going to carry a gun in a foamy holster again. But I found the holster to be pretty comfortable, given the fact that I did make some adjustments to it. Even though without the adjustments, just using the foamy clip, it was comfortable to carry just for the short time that I did. It was a friend's gun, so I didn't carry it outside. I just kind of put it on, sat down, did the normal test with it, and I liked it. But with the adjustments I've made to this holster, I've carried it a lot. I've worn it in my wedding, so I was tucked in and nobody could really tell it was there. I've carried it just out and about for a number of different days. So I've been pretty satisfied overall with the quality of the holster. Now, let's jump into my feelings on who is this product for, kind of my conclusions for this video. This was, in my experience so far, a relatively high quality flashlight that came with a holster for $100. So I was honestly pretty impressed with what I received and my time of using it. So who is this product for? Recently, I had a family member come to me and he just kind of briefly mentioned he wants to get a handgun for him and his wife. Probably he doesn't want to spend a lot of money. He's not a gun guy. Hopefully he's going to go out and shoot it. I will stress the importance of that. However, he is probably not going to spend as much money buying quality equipment as he probably should. It's just the way of the world that we don't often do those things because we don't think that we're ever going to actually need it. My recommendation is buy a Glock 19 or a CZ P10C, just something that fits the same footprint for holster compatibility and that kind of thing. Buy this flashlight and holster combo. Then he has a home defense gun and a gun that he can carry concealed, and he only spent $100 on the holster flashlight combo, and it actually turned out to be pretty good. That is my personal opinion of who this is for. If somebody comes to me and says, hey, I need to get a handgun, I can say P10C. Now, I haven't tested this with the P10C, but generally they work with Glock holsters. I should test that. P10C, this flashlight holster combo, replace the clip with a monoblock. Buy these products, you have a very quality holster flashlight combo, you have a good pistol, you're good to go. Anyway, I am 8mm Mauser Man, and I carried a gun on my wedding day, but I lived on.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.